Hey everyone, so I know it's been a while and normally I wouldn't go out of my way to make a video like this, but it's also not every day that my stuff gets stolen at a hotel. And if you're asking me, I think it was stolen by the hotel, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So I think if anything, this is just a PSA to avoid the Anaheim Marriott Suites in Garden Grove, California at all costs, because there is definitely some shady business going on there. And I just hope that by sharing my experience, hopefully it can help prevent others from going through something similar. So let's get into it. So in terms of what happened, again, I was staying at the Anaheim Marriott Suites in Garden Grove, California, and I had my jewelry box with over $500 worth of jewelry. Could have been much worse, so I'm still thankful for that. And my AirPods. So jewelry box, AirPods stolen from my hotel room while I was out. The theft happened on a Thursday, but I actually didn't notice until Friday morning because at first glance, nothing in my hotel room was off when I got back. That would have indicated, someone broke in, took stuff, none of that. So I didn't even notice until probably a good 12 hours after the theft had occurred. So Friday morning, I was getting ready. I wanted to change out, my earrings, so I started looking for my jewelry box. I probably spent a good 10 minutes looking for my jewelry box, thinking that I had misplaced it before the thought of it potentially getting stolen even crossed my mind. This hotel does not provide safes in the room, but I thought that since my jewelry box was in my suitcase, it would have been fine. And so after I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was stolen, I was about to head down to the lobby to talk to the front desk, but I decided to give my husband a call just to make sure that I didn't accidentally leave the jewelry box at home, because this was actually the first time that I had traveled with multiple pieces of jewelry, and after this incident, probably the last time. But I just wanted to make sure that, I didn't forget to bring it in the first place, which would have explained, everything. So that's when I started looking for my AirPods and I realized those were missing too. And I knew 100% I had brought my AirPods because I actually used them in the hotel room the day before. And that's when I was like, I think my stuff actually was stolen. And I thought it was interesting that they took my AirPods, but not my laptop, which was lying out in the open. But anyway, so I went down to the hotel lobby to have a chat with the front desk supervisor. And I just remember the first thing I noticed when I told them about my situation was just this lack of urgency and also lack of surprise when I told them my stuff had been stolen. So they said they would do some investigation on their end and they would keep me updated. And at that point, I guess I decided to just check to see if my AirPods could be tracked through Apple's Find My Device app. And sure enough, they can. So if you haven't set up tracking yet for your AirPods, definitely turn that on. And upon opening the app, it very clearly pinpointed the location of my AirPods to a house less than 5 miles away from the hotel. So I went back to the front desk and I gave them this information and asked if they could cross-check the address with the employees who work there. And they said they couldn't because of privacy issues. And the lady actually, when she saw the address, the first thing she said was, oh, that can't be anyone here because nobody at the hotel, lives in Anaheim or lives within, this radius of the hotel. And I'm like, how can you be so sure? But yeah, after I, asked a couple more times, the lady kept saying no. And then she was like, well, if you want to look into this further, we would have to get the police involved. Do you want me to call the police? I was like, yes, I want you to call the police. Like, why did they not call the police from the beginning as part of kicking off their investigation? So that's when they got the police involved. And the police officer actually showed up at the hotel within 10 minutes, which I was surprised by. I was very thankful, but also surprised in a good way. Now, when it came to the police, honestly, I didn't really have high expectations for what the police could do. So the officer asked a bunch of questions and it seemed like the whole time he was just trying to set expectations that it was very unlikely I was going to get my stuff back. So when I pressed him on the address that my AirPods were at, and I basically asked, can you go out there and basically help me get them back? He said that he wouldn't be able to because he doesn't have a warrant. But eventually he said that he would check with his sergeant to see if they could make an exception, and send him out there and see what he could do. He then also came up to my hotel room, looked around, and basically confirmed that, there were no signs of forced entry. So at that point I'm thinking, it's gotta be housekeeping staff, but who knows, maybe somebody came in while they were cleaning my room, maybe somebody stole a key, I don't know. And then after that, the officer left, and I asked him to just keep me posted if he found anything. And I was so surprised when I actually got a call from him a couple hours later, because he actually managed to get out to the house that my AirPods were at, and he got my AirPods back. The jewelry was nowhere to be found, but I think because he didn't have a warrant and the jewelry didn't have tracking on it like the AirPods did, he was probably limited in terms of what he could ask the people living at the house. So chances are they might have had it there, but police couldn't really do anything about it. He then told me the guy at the house seemed like he made up some BS story about how he got the AirPods from someone else, blah, blah, blah. So the police wrote him up and they're starting an investigation, but that's probably going to take a long time, and I haven't heard anything, and it's been almost a week. So the other thing that was very suspicious is the lady who also happened to live at the house. She actually worked for hotel housekeeping, just not the hotel that I was at. I don't know how they verified, but that was definitely a red flag. But yeah, at that point, I was just very happy to get my AirPods back. And then I decided to go back to the hotel and just see what they had found in their investigation. And I wasn't able to get any useful information. They just kept directing me to their insurance, saying that they had filed an incident and I will hear back from them within 8 weeks. I mean, 8 weeks is a long time. So I thought that was ridiculous, and there was nothing they could offer in terms of compensation. They said everything had to go through this insurance policy. And as I just kept asking questions, there were so many more red flags that came up. So first of all, when I asked them what investigation they had actually done, they said that they had asked their housekeeping manager, and the manager had said that nobody matched the description of the person living at the house that my AirPods were found at. I mean, obviously, I don't think the person living at the house was necessarily the same person who entered my room. But that's literally all they asked, and they kind of left it at that. That was the extent of their investigation. So very disappointing. And then they had actually pulled a room lock audit, which shows, who entered your room using what key. And so they had sent that to the police, but they emailed me the report as well. So once I took a closer look, I saw that there were 2 entries into my room Thursday afternoon while I was out. One at 2:20 p.m., the other at 4:16 p.m. Both were by housekeeping staff, because the room key ID, it was labeled as a housekeeping key. And so when I asked why there were 2 entries into my room, also within such a short time period, they didn't know. And it didn't seem like they asked their housekeeping staff either. Then I asked if they had checked security camera footage around the time of the room entries, and they said that they don't have cameras capturing each floor. They only have a camera in the lobby area and then a camera capturing the back of the hotel. So I asked if they had checked those cameras, just in case, what if someone from housekeeping showed up around the outside of the hotel? And then the lady says, oh, housekeeping uses a different elevator with no cameras. And that was a huge red flag, and there was no concern in her voice whatsoever. So that, I think in that moment, it confirmed to me that it was most likely housekeeping who did it, and hotel management probably knows about this, but is just turning a blind eye. And then after checking Google reviews, it seems like this kind of thing happens so often at this hotel, but the hotel still has an overall 4-star rating. So you wouldn't expect it, and it's a little bit hard to kind of dig through all the reviews to kind of see, But if you filter by 1-star reviews, there is like literally something every couple weeks that is the exact same scenario as what I went through. So at this point, I am still waiting to hear back from Marriott. I actually escalated to corporate, but haven't heard anything yet. Their insurance hasn't gotten back to me, but not surprised given that they said it would take 8 weeks. And yeah, I probably won't hear back, but I think overall I'm just very, very disgusted, disappointed at what's going on at this hotel. And I think if anything, this video was more of a rant, but I really hope that by sharing my experience, hopefully it can help others avoid a similar experience. I think in hindsight, I am grateful though, like it could have been a lot worse. I'm glad I wasn't in the room when the theft took place. I'm also glad that, I had my engagement ring on me. I had other valuable things on me that I just took with me wherever. But yeah, I think lesson learned, try to find hotels that have safes in the room. I also need to get a lock for my suitcase. But yeah, and I got my AirPods back. So I think still a lot that I am grateful for, but at the same time, I think when you go through something like this, it's just hard not to feel kind of violated and icky. And especially with how little the hotel has done to look into this, it's just really, really disappointing to see from Marriott. But yeah, appreciate you guys listening and watching. And again, yeah, I hope, especially for those of you visiting the Disneyland area, I know this hotel was, fairly reasonably priced. It's really close to the park, but I think, yeah, just lots of red flags, and I would definitely recommend avoiding this hotel at all costs. But let me know if you have any questions. Hope this was helpful. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.